Hey folks, this is Ranger Squirrel. This is an odd post. It's a product of me being bored today. I did a lot of odd stuff around the house, and this is one of the things I did. A gentleman that I communicate with on a fairly regular basis has been doing a video series called Almost Naked into the Wilderness. And the premise being, if you had to walk into the wilderness with nothing but the clothes on your back and try and survive, what would you do? All right, and it's an interesting series. It's a very challenging series, as everyone who's watching it, including the person making it, is finding out. And it's inspired me to think about this a little bit. And one of the things I've thought about is that you would, of course, make use of any kind of thing, anything that you came across that could be in any way useful. And unfortunately, in our society, that means litter. And so I was thinking, when I hike, a lot of the time I come across this type of thing. All right. This happens to be a beer can. If you haven't tried Fat Tire, it's actually rather good beer, at least in my opinion. You know, soda can would be the exact same thing. So, what would you do with this? Now, I'm not even pretending I could get by with this on a flint knife. I just don't think I could pull off what I'm about to do. But I sat down and thought, what would I make of this? All right, using only the EDC that I carry every day. So the stuff that I carry in my pocket on a daily basis, as well as my Leatherman. What would I do with this? All right, and so here's what I came up with. All right, now there's a few things here, and I'll go through them one by one. The first one's pretty obvious. All right, I'd want to preserve the can, at least some of it, because you need a way to boil water. All right, after making fire, of course, you would need a way to a container to hold the water, and so this would be a good choice for that. You could also use this container for something like a scorpion trap if that happens to be an issue in your area, but I don't have scorpions where I live, so this would be a container for boiling water. Second thing is I made an ulu knife. All right, these are used by a lot of different indigenous peoples as a way to separate the hide from the meat on an animal. And all I did was, this used to be the top of this can, okay? And I went around it with a can opener, and then I used the scissors on my Leatherman to kind of clean up the edge, and then I used my Leatherman file to kind of sharpen it up. And it's not razor sharp by any means. It's got a little bit of a serration right here, though, and that serration is sharp. I cut myself with it earlier. And then there are a couple of sharp edges, and you would just hold the meat with your left hand and kind of scrape like this with the knife to separate it. And you could use, meat from bone or hide from meat, either way. All right, and so that's a little ulu knife. It's pretty strong. I cinched down the other half and just clamped down the edges and tried to make that not sharp anywhere down here. So that's the ulu knife. That's one thing. Second thing is, in my EDC, I carry a few fish hooks and a couple of swivels. And then a little bit of fishing line, about 50 feet of 50-pound test is what I carry. Okay, so that's a lot of fishing line, I guess. So I've got that. But that's it, as far as a fishing kit. I mean, this is a small pocket kit. Part of it, basically fits in an Altoids can. So this would augment that. It's just a little spinner, a little spoon to go with the kit. It's got a natural concave because I actually made it from the part of the can that kind of, it's this part right here, the little loop. It's got a little natural concave to it. So it should spin just fine. I haven't tried it out. Just made it today. But you could bend it or tweak it however you needed to make it spin. But that's number two. The next three things I'm going to do all at once. All right, now these are just skewer hooks. If you've never used a skewer hook before, never seen one before, it's an interesting concept, a very old idea. This isn't anything novel, nothing I made up. It's just parts of the can, and again, it's from the same part, the part that went around right here. Okay, I cut that out, and then I just kind of folded it over on itself and made cylinders, and then I sliced off the cylinders on the sides and flattened them out. So what I've got is two very, very sharp edges. All right, this one in particular is razor sharp, and then it's got a little curve to it because of the shape of the metal. And so what I did, you can see I put a little hole in it right there. Okay, you would string your line through that, and this one's got a natural curve to it, kind of a rainbow shape. All right, you're going to want that facing toward you. You're going to string your line through there. Okay, and then what'll happen, so once you've got your line strung, by the way, the knot you're going to use on that is the same one you would use on a fishing lure, not a hook knot. All right, you'd want some movement here. You don't want to cinch it down. So I use a king sling. If you want to Google that, you can probably find out. But that's the kind of knot. It's going to be parallel to your finger when you straighten. If your finger's the line, you're going to hold it parallel, and you're going to put your bait in such a way around this that it's going to hold everything in place. Now this will work great with a dough type of bait, like a catfish bait, but obviously you don't necessarily have that in the woods. So whatever you can come up with, you're going to find a way to suspend it like this. All right. So then you're pulling this thing through the water, or it's sitting on the ground, and some fish comes along and sucks that thing up. And it's going to come from the left-hand side of the screen here, and it'll suck it up. What'll happen is when you pull on that, the bottom little hook, all right, here, is going to hook on the bottom of the fish's jaw. And then it's going to spin and lock up the top. All right, and you want assorted sizes for different size fish, obviously, because, you know, one of these little ones, when it's spun, it'd come right out of a largemouth. I mean, it did just fly right out of the mouth. So, something like this, though, could very well get lodged in the fish's throat, and that's a skewer. All right, that's a skewer hook. So you're going to pull it out that way. Sorry if you already knew that, but there are a lot of people that have probably never seen one of those. So I made 3 of those. And then the last thing I made, and actually looking back on it, this was probably just me trying to use up excess material. I don't have any sort of weight in my EDC. Maybe it would be a lot easier just to throw in a couple of sinkers, but I don't have any kind of weight to keep the line down. So what I did was just make an empty tube here. I crimped off one end, all right, and then I put a hole in it. And then what I would do is fill this up with little pebbles, something like that, and then crimp that end off again. And then I put a hole in it, and I can tie it to the line, and it would slide up and down the line. It's not sharp on the inside of that hole. I took care of that. So that would just be basically a very convoluted sinker. So that's what I came up with, and I realized none of that is terribly earth-shattering. I had fun drinking the beer. All right. Now, here's why I'm posting this. It's a challenge. Come up with something better. Come up with something better out of one can using nothing but a Leatherman. And you can, you know, build it to be used with things that you carry every day, but those need to be realistic. I mean, we're not talking about everything in your pack here. We're talking a small pocket-sized survival kit. All right. So that's the challenge. Good luck with it. Post it as a response to the video. I look forward to seeing what everybody comes up with. That's all I have for this video. Thanks.